Excellent.
I hear you.
I would like to call this meeting of the Little Compton School Committee to order for Wednesday, May the 8th. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is directly behind Jonathan. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, can we take a moment, bow our heads, open our hearts, moment of reflection for those that are less fortunate around the world. I thank you all. We are on item 2, consent agenda. I will hear a motion to approve the consent agenda, and or is anything want to be removed or discussed?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. Jennifer, we will vote via roll call.
Travis Audi,
Aye.
Hannah Ayotte,
Aye.
Megan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Susan Kinane,
Aye.
Mike Rocha,
Aye. Excellent. Consent agenda approves. Lori, could you just hand me that piece of paper? Roger, thank you. We have one public comment from Mr. Robert, is it Chardini or Chardin?
Caradio.
Sorry, my apologies. Caradio. No, no worries, no worries. And you'll be speaking about the ride?
Yes, sir.
And for a future agenda, please.
Yes, sir.
Robert, please.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to tie this in with Title IX, ride policies. Title IX, as we know, was adopted in 1972, and it's 37 words. I'm going to read it quick. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. As a result of Title IX, any school that receives, you guys know this, any federal money from elementary to university level must provide fair and equal treatment of the sexes in all areas, including athletics. Title IX was written to protect women from discrimination based on sex, not men who see themselves as women. Not only to the Biden administration's illegal rewrite and hijacking of Title IX, as well as RIDE's current protocol, not prevent discrimination on the basis of sex, they mandated. What's more, the executive branch, as we all know, does not have the authority to make law. Only Congress does, the legislative branch. RIDE knows this, yet still threatens school districts in Rhode Island if they dare not comply. The Westerly School Committee's proposal to revise this policy, the current RIDE protocol, will keep boys out of girls' bathrooms and locker rooms, and the possibility of boys competing against girls athletically, outlaw boys rooming with girls on overnight field trips, and illegal compelled speech of mandated use of pronouns, and ensure that parents are informed if their child presents to socially transition in school. These proposed changes make sense for all kids and all families, as these children do not belong to the state or the school. Until they turn 18, they are the sole responsibility of the parent or guardian. I am sympathetic to those who are confused with their sexual identity and want them to get the mental health counseling they need, if needed, outside school. However, to be clear, no matter how much a boy wants to be a girl, dress like a girl, think he's a girl, act like a girl, he will never be a girl. Same with girls who see themselves as boys.
We have a civility policy
Yes.
here. I'm not comfortable with this. This is, have we been tracking time?
Fair. That being said, you had noted that you would like for a future agenda item.
Yes, sir.
I understand what you're the direction you're going, but I'm waiting for how this applies to an agenda item for us and a policy in which we are hearing.
Yes, this is what I'm talking about.
Well, let's wrap it up for that part.
I'm getting there. This policy rewrite that the current administration did, as well as RISE adherence to it, are illegal in many people's eyes. This is what this district can do. Say no. Tell RISE and tell the Biden administration that you will write your own policy or you will adjust RISE's current policy. That is what you can do. You know what's best for your kids here in Little Compton, better than RISE does, or better than the U.S. Department of Education does, or the Biden administration. That's the purpose of my coming here, is to let you all know that you are under no obligation whatsoever to comply with this Title IX hijacking, because it was made law in 1972, and the only people that can change it is the legislative branch in Washington, D.C. Joe Biden cannot change it. You are under no obligation, no matter how much RISE threatens you.
No, understood. So you're presenting that we have a future policy discussion regarding our transportation.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Transportation.
Yes, our transportation for our students.
No.
Title IX.
Our Title IX Department of Education transportation policy is what you're, or what are you?
Not transportation, sir. No, it has to do with, I don't know, transportation.
I'm sorry. So RIDE hasn't passed down anything to us where we are non-compliant.
You have protocol that you have to.
I understand that.
Say you have to follow.
I understand that.
My contention is this Title IX decision that came from the Biden administration is going to severely alter and take away your decision-making capability if you choose to let it. You are under no obligation to use gender identity as a litmus test to enforce Joe Biden or this Biden administration's new definition of Title IX, because he does not have the power to do that.
Okay.
That's my point. So I would like to see on a future agenda here in front of you people that you would say, look, RISE's current protocol doesn't work for us. We here in this room, you 7 or 5 or 7, however many make the decisions.
Yeah.
We're better equipped. We know these kids better than anybody does.
Okay.
Let's write our own policy and tell RISE they don't know our kids. We know our kids. That's why I wanted to come here.
Okay. So yeah, that's the simple ask. You would like to have a future conversation regarding RIDE's influence and policy regarding our children in Title IX. And we need to hear that on a sub-policy before we bring it before this board.
As well as a transgender, gender non-conforming and transitioning students policy. That is RIDE guidance as well, which I mentioned in here about the pronouns.
Okay.
And so on and so forth. The bathrooms, the overnight field trips, the athletics, all of that.
Okay.
So.
Do you want to add anything to this as a policy subcommittee?
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, everybody.
Thank you. All right, item 4. Wilbur McMahon Spotlight, Mr. Principal McKinnon.
Thank you, Chairperson.
I mean, do you have to, can you not sit on this side? What's going on here? Okay, that's fair. Wherever you're most comfortable. All right, good deal.
All right, so our first thing up is, right now, we are in the action phase of our grade 8 community project, which is part of the IB culminating event. A community project is it's a service learning project. As you can see, there are a couple of projects up here, including one right behind us that has been started by one of our grade 8 students producing a mural on this wall down in the Commons. This is the culminating event for our year 3/grade 8 students. A couple of the other things, we have a plastics affecting our ocean and beach cleanup that's going to be taking place, I want to say next weekend. We have down in the middle there, you have a couple of girls today who are over at the community center showing some of our older citizens some hip hop moves. And actually outstanding. Next slide, John. Our grade 8 students, Wednesday of next week, are heading to Washington, D.C. to see some of the sites and the places around the District of Columbia. Their flight leaves, so they're leaving Wilbur McMahon School at 3:30 in the morning, and it is basically a 60-hour nonstop, with the exception of maybe 8 hours of sleep at night for our students. Good luck to our parents. We're going to be.
Megan's going to that.
But it's a great event. I know the kids are really looking forward to it. Next slide, John. Last Friday, we had Judge Jean Shepherd, magistrate of the Rhode Island Family Court, and Nick Long, attorney Nick Long, who's also from Little Compton, Rhode Island, talking to our grade 8 students regarding laws in government. They kind of, peeked out a little bit during some of the question and answer. Each of the students had to come up with a question for the judge or for the attorney, and they did their best job of trying to answer those questions. Great day for our grade 8 students and Mr. Torres. The Friday before was our Earth Day at Wilbur McMahon School. This was something that BJ Whitehouse, who was former music teacher here, used to run. Mike Ayod, who was one of our teacher assistants, kind of took on the charge of this. We had a picnic outside for the kids, bag lunch or school lunch outside. And he had 8 different stations that the kids would rotate to in about a 20-minute segment. Part of it was cleaning up our oasis out here, scavenger hunt, and we did a recycling relay there. You can see the soldiers in line there getting ready for action. But it was a great day for our entire school to get outside and enjoy some vitamin D, which we haven't had a whole lot of this year. And I think the final thing, we had a Newport Classical Music Strings Quartet was here on April 30th. Dave Middleton, town resident Dave Middleton, who was with the Up With Arts program, put this together with myself and their leader, name escapes me. But they came in and treated our K through 4 students, a morning of some string music, real enjoyable time. Really enjoyed it, and of course they enjoyed it as well. That is what's going on at Wilbur McMahon School.
Principal McKinnon, thank you so much.
Fantastic.
All right, item 5, superintendent report. Lori.
Hey, take it away, Jonathan. School committee member Mike Reuter did ask for more information regarding the capital improvement processes here. And because the gymnatorium really eclipsed everything else on our list of projects at the last meeting, and rightly so. That was a dazzling space in there. But we have a few more that are in the hopper right now. Thank you, Jonathan. We have about 16 that a few years ago, when we did receive a $50,000 grant to bring in an architectural and engineering firm, these 16 projects were identified and as being critical. And so at the end of this is a slide that also has resources available right on our school website. And so we have completed the first one there, reduce the art room and create an additional classroom for our design program. The new stage, curtain, and audiovisual equipment, that is also pretty much done. A few more tweaks in there, Jonathan, if I'm correct. Add equipment to the kitchen. We've added a commercial range so far, bought fully grant funds. We have another grant out there, and it looks promising, and that will be for a commercial dishwasher, for some hand washing stations and hand drying stations, for reusable trays and other serviceware, etc. So that's also in process. The solar project is in process, and reimagining the media center is just being kicked off a bit. And go to the next slide. Regarding the solar project, I know that text, when it's that textually tight, it's tough to read. But recently, the integration has been approved by Rhode Island Energy. And if anyone follows solar projects or has engaged in them, also, you know that that's a major hurdle to, thank you, that's a major check. And so that is done. The Little Compton Planning Board approved the project, as did the zoning board. The structural analysis is still pending. We did have an engineer here a couple of weeks ago, cutting through some of our drywall and so forth, checking things out. Modules will likely need to be relocated from the gym roofs to the north-facing roof that was discussed at the zoning meeting. Travis, you and I were there for that. Let's see, the building permit application will be coming weeks after the layout has been modified. Newport Renewables would like to have their roof revisit to complete the pre-inspection. And they want to know if we have a preference, a roofer of our own. So I'll definitely sit down with Chris Osborne Jr. regarding that. The construction schedule is late June, early August. And then permission to operate also August, September, and grant disbursement November, December. And I got a brand new schematic, Travis and Mike, you kind of like the solar project, and John McNamee. So this came in last night, I think, from Stuart Flanagan. And I will also send this presentation to the school committee in lieu of a Friday night memo. So you will get to see that. So the roof panels over the gym may have to be moved to that north side. That was discussed at the zoning board. Also, aesthetics were an issue, if you remember, Travis, at that meeting also. So that may check a few boxes. So we're not quite sure, but that is a possibility that we may have to shift some of that to the north roof. I think the zoning board would be happy because a few of the members did worry about aesthetics. Next. Reimagining the library. The library is relatively new. The 2012 renovation, it definitely did enhance the space, but the space is still lacking the flexibility and the adaptability that a 21st century learning space needs. And also the fixed bookshelves have sort of ruined the space as a public meeting space because it doesn't meet the egress requirements of fire code regarding the aisles and the width. And so we can no longer hold our school committee meetings in that space. So we have to adapt the space anyway to come up to code. And it was already on the list that the building committee and all of the community engagement meetings, sort of rooted out all of the priorities. And that space and its rigidity was one of those projects. A 21st century library media center, it is generally designed for personalized learning, hands-on project-based learning. The role of technology is definitely in the forefront, new forms of media and flexibility, future adaptability. And so the renovation didn't quite bake some of these pieces in. So we will have maybe the next one. Okay, we do have 4 schematics, 4 options. Number 4 seems to be an option that is, it's hard to see. And so it'll be easier when I send this to the school committee in an email, maybe enhance that one. So number 4, there we go. You'll see over there on that west side there, our left side, that is the entrance. And as you go into the library, you'll see a fixed, huge, we call it the Starship Enterprise, a big fixed, huge arc of a counter that's there that really does restrict that space. And every single, every shelf, every section of bookshelving is fixed, and we will get rid of all of those and put everything on wheels. But there will also be built-in bookcases around the perimeter of the spaces. The meeting area will be opened up and flexible with lighter furniture on wheels and stacking chairs. There'll be soft seating. We have a school that has to accommodate kids age 3 to 14. So some of them are the size of babies and some of them are the size of adults. And so we really have to work on the inclusivity of the various seating areas. And we don't have that right now. So this is a priority. It's not, it's not an emergency in any way, shape, or form, as one of the projects that we'll be discussing in a few minutes is. That would be the HVAC project regarding air conditioning of some of our classrooms. But the space is right now, access to it for public meetings, that is definitely off the table regarding fire code, and also the inclusivity piece. We don't really have seating for teens, with the high tops. And so it's going to be a really welcome upgrade to the space. It's going to open it up more. Everything will be modular and portable. So we are looking forward to that a lot. Next. Maybe the next one. Should be one more slide over there. Okay, this is sort of what we're thinking about. And that is in that option that the interior designer and architect sketched out for us. And so all of these pieces are modular. There are hidden wheels at the bottom of these shelving units. And so there's spaces for story time, and then elsewhere there'll be spaces for our teens. Like I said, with the high tabletops, some more soft seating for them to sort of kick back and chill. And it's a lot for one space to accommodate 3 kids 3 years old on up to school committee members and town council members, whoever wants to meet in there. And the space just doesn't do it right now. So we need to do some retrofitting, and that's it. That's all I have for that piece. Next slide. If you go to our website, click on that. Thank you, Jonathan. You go to our website, if you go into district capital improvement plan, you'll come to these documents right here. The stage 2 proposal that was approved by the town council in 2022. And then, thank you so much. That's one long document. It's got 500, or I don't know how many pages, but it is super long. Okay, it really feels like fun. But everything is in there. There are, that's all the deferred maintenance, all those pages are deferred maintenance. There's enrollment projections from NESDAQ. There's just so much. All of our community engagement pieces are in there. It was a pretty comprehensive process. And then I'll update this every now and again. That's just something I made quickly on the fly. And just, sake of full transparency, those are always up there and available under district capital improvement plan, stage 2. And hopefully someday you'll all be sitting here and number 16 will be complete. John McNamee is the HVAC. That's in his wheelhouse. There is new funding at the state level for projects like, upgrading the heating and ventilation and air conditioning in schools. This school is just like all the others. There are some cool spots, and then there are some hot boxes, especially in our middle school, the older section. And it has been very tough on students and teachers at the end of each school year and beginning of each school year. We've had to put classes in the gymnatorium because there's AC in there now. We've had to put kids in my office if I'm out, small groups. I think it's an emergency in terms of conditioning some of the spaces in this building, some of the air. Go for it.
So if you recall, we had set up a separate capital reserve fund. The reason we do that is because the Rhode Island Department of Education requires us to have a separate capital reserve fund in order to get what they call housing aid. So housing aid is a reimbursement that we'll get for dollars that we spend for capital improvements that have been pre-approved. So as Superintendent mentioned, that stage 2 application, which is like 500 pages, that's a requirement for us to submit before we can apply for housing aid. So we put that together, and basically what happens, the architects and engineers come in, they assess what the weaknesses are in the school. We identify those in stage 1, and in stage 2, we then start to put some numbers and some schematic designs to those particular projects that we want to submit for stage 2 approval. So that number, in effect, has been approved by the Council on Elementary and Secondary Education at RIDE, so that when we submit these projects, they then qualify for that housing aid. Minimum housing aid is 35%. And it varies among districts. So the lower income districts like at Woonsocket might get a 90% reduction. So they're paying 10 cents on the dollar to put up maybe a new high school or a middle school. Whereas some of the districts such as Little Compton, Barrington, East Greenwich will be at the lower, which is the 35%. But what RIDE did do is they put in some bonus incentives of there's about a half a dozen bonus incentives for health and safety deficiencies, educational enhancements, increased utilization. There are 2 specifically that this HVAC could comply with, and that's the health and safety deficiencies and the educational enhancements. Each one of those bonuses is worth an additional 5%. So in the event that, let's say, the HVAC project, let's say a portion of it is 500, 1,000, we're going to probably do it in stages. So that 500,000, normally you would get 35% on that. We can bump that up to 45%. So a 10% increase, it's a $50,000 savings. And what RIDE, these bonus incentives sunset as of June 30th of 24, so this coming June. But as long as we have a contract with, in this case, architects and engineers to put the HVAC project, design it, we're going to be able to lock into those bonus incentives. And we have to complete the project by June 30th of 2029. So it gives us 5 years to complete the project as well. So it's not something that, we have to get done this summer. And a lot of those projects, I'm doing one elementary school up in Lincoln right now. That's going to take basically 2 summers. So we're going to start it this summer. They'll do whatever work they can do while the kids are in school, and then the following summer complete everything when the kids are out as well too. So when you're looking at renovating an old building and adding a new HVAC system, it's pretty involved at this point too. So the incentive would be to try to do this as soon as possible, because you got construction inflation that goes along with that. And those numbers are probably up in the neighborhood of at least probably anywhere from 8 to 10% at this point in time. So there are some funding mechanisms outside of RIDE, housing aid, through the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, which has what they call an efficient building fund. So we can wind up borrowing some money in order for us to get the project done sooner. It's usually a lower interest loan, but unlike, for example, when we did the major renovations here and we borrowed the money in a bond back in 2014, the debt service, both principal and interest, were reimbursable by RIDE. In this case, the interest that is on this particular loan, although it's going to be reduced, would not be reimbursable. So it wouldn't be subject to the 45% reimbursement. So, we have to look at the cash flows and kind of project out and, see what the overall cost of the projects is going to be and what stages that we can complete. But it's going to be advantageous for the school to do that, especially with the solar coming online. We're going to be able to, I'm hoping, bring this building to kind of a zero net energy building. We have done this in Lincoln. We put up a new physical education center. We made that zero net energy. They're actually completing the solar on that building this month. And we had to put solar panels on the roof on that building, but we also had to add some to the high school, which is adjacent to the physical education center, to get that down to a zero net energy building. But it was one of the first in Rhode Island. So that's what we're hoping that this would, that we'd be able to do by going over to a HVA system that would be electricity based as well. I mean, you're moving away from fossil fuel on top of that. So there are some environmental considerations as well to this project. So.
Excellent. Keep us attuned to that. Also, I know with the solar project, there was not only the housing aid from the Department of Education, the federal tax credit, but there was also a grant. Do we see the possibility of any grants for these types of renewable energy projects moving forward with the push behind it?
Some energy incentives, and Rhode Island Energy has some monies that they can set aside. So we're looking into that as well as a potential.
Yeah.
So it's, I think the point is that in order for us to be able to take advantage at least of the additional 10% incentives is to get a contract with the architects and engineers signed and in place as at the end of June. We don't necessarily have to start any of that work until, well, we have to complete it by June of 29, but we don't necessarily have to do all that work this year because we're going to have to look at cash flows in terms of monies that are going to be, available for us to utilize. Now, that's a revolving fund, that capital reserve. So the money we spend, for example, on solar, we're going to get some federal grant, some state grant money back. We're going to get, we've got money coming in from the town. We've got housing aid coming in. So we're going to be getting housing aid on the auditorium project, on the art room. We'll probably get a little bit on the library. But so we're looking at, projecting that for our next big project, which would be the HVAC.
Excellent. John, while you're rolling, you want to just roll right into the finance report? I know that the HVAC piece is in there.
Just want a couple of questions on that.
Sure, go ahead.
So Jim, you're saying that we have to lock in a architect by June 30th or 24th
Just need a contract with them.
contract? And that contract is going to specify what are we going to be looking for at that time?
That contract would be for them to design the HVAC system for the school.
And we can turn that around before our next meeting in June?
No. All we need is the contract.
And then they would perform the work, present it to this committee or to the school. And then we would basically, based on that 5-year window, come up with a rubric that makes sense.
Right. If we decide that we don't want to move forward with it, we're not going to be obligated under that.
But we'll lose that 10% if we say, hey, let's wait until
Right. So we just want to be able
September.
to protect that 10% by having this contract in place.
So we have a contract in place. We have until June of 2029 to complete a project.
Correct.
That's including design through construction.
Okay. I guess from budgeting standpoints, I guess this goes back to, and I don't know the answer to this. This goes back to the capital plan that I presented in the beginning of that first page. There was something that was instituted about 2 years ago here in town, as far as the town code with having a 3-year capital plan and a 5-year capital plan. How does that affect us down here?
Don't we have a rolling 5-year capital plan?
Yeah, right. The Department of Education requires a 5-year capital plan. And that 5-year capital plan is really based off the stage 2 application that we did and submitted to RIDE. So even though we may put everything that's in that capital plan in our RIDE plan, we're not necessarily obligated to spend that money for that. If we don't have the funding for it, I mean, there are some projects there that we probably won't have the funding to do in that 5-year plan. With all the 5-year plans I've seen, and we probably have done in the last 3 years, and Lincoln have done probably 2, if not more. You're always looking at specific projects that you wind up doing. So for example, we could obviously go back to RIDE and say that we want to do an HVAC plan, although we've already got it approved, we wouldn't have to. But if there was something in that plan that we wanted, let's say we wanted to put a addition on the school, you can go back and do another stage 1 and 2 application to RIDE and get that approved. So there's a little bit of flexibility in these capital project plans, but at least we've got something in place at this point in time.
Right.
Excellent. Go ahead, fire away with the,
All right, so quickly, the financial statements, we are looking at about 100 deficit this year, which is basically being caused by an increase in the CTE tuition. We've got more children at our career and technical education programs outside of the district. We're going to be over about 45,000 in that area. And our out-of-district special education tuition is going to be about $52,000 over budget. So that's really what's generating that deficit. When you look at the Portsmouth High School tuition, we had budgeted 81. The fourth quarter billing just came in. We were at 81. We're down to 80 students. So we're pretty much on target on that budget. There's no other expenditures in there. I'm thinking that some of my projections, I've got some budgeted numbers in there that we may not be spending as we move towards the end of the year. So I'm hoping that we probably can reduce that deficit a little bit by taking in some of those unbudgeted, the unspent portion of the budget that we have in some areas. As we've spoken, we've got about in our capital account, because I am projecting that we are completing the my projection had included, for example, the solar panel installations right now. Through April 30th to 24, we have spent only about 50,000 on the solar. So there's about 461,000 that's going to be spent on that. So that more than likely is going to wind up getting spent in 25. So even though projects that are completed as of the end of June would be subject to housing aid, when the state passed the bonds, they had that $250 million bonds where $50 million were issued. There was some housing aid So what they're doing is giving us housing aid up front. So what I'm probably going to do is use some of that money to basically get the housing aid for the solar, which we normally would have had to wait until the following year to get. I'll be able to get that as we're spending it during the summer. So even the delay in that project is not going to cause any problems with cash flow from my standpoint, because we'll be able to get that housing aid up front. And the grants, I'm assuming those will probably come in probably in September.
The grant disbursement would be around November.
November.
Yeah.
So we'll get that in next year as well, too.
Yep.
So that's all good news.
Okay. So, there was a question whether we were still gonna get that extra 100K from Newport County. Any update on that disbursement? I know you were carrying it, but we didn't know if we were gonna get it or not get that.
Yeah, so that, Lori and I were just talking about that. The Tiverton is kind of controlling that a bit, so we're just requesting that they make sure that there's a disbursement before the end of the year. Whether it's going to come in this year, or it's going to wind up coming in next year, we're not sure at this point in time. I'm not sure whether I can set that up as a receivable. I think if we can get that paid before the audit is completed for 24, maybe the auditors would allow me to put that in there, but we're going to be pushing to get at least some portion of that distribution in 24, which means before the end of June. I can't imagine that Tiverton doesn't need that money as well, so.
Right.
I know the money is there, because we
It is there.
had a reporting, so we know the cash is there. It's just that there has to be a distribution that's made, so.
I guess my question is that the numbers that you're projecting right now, that we're gonna be in a deficit are based on us receiving that 100K, right? That's what
That's correct, yeah. If we were not to receive that 100, that would be at 200. That would still leave us with a couple of $100,000 in accumulated surplus. And I probably wouldn't recommend the additional transfer of 100 to capital reserve until that money came in.
Okay, that was what I was gonna. So we wait on that transfer until the monies come in and we respond accordingly if they don't.
Yeah, we should have some better information probably, certainly by next month's meeting.
We're pushing for it.
Excellent, thank you, John. All right, committee sub-reports, policy subcommittee, Ms. Hannah.
Thank you. We are tentatively planning a subcommittee meeting for Tuesday, May 21st at 3:30 PM. So be on the lookout for that agenda posting in a couple weeks.
Thank you very much. Portsmouth School Committee Liaison Report, that is I. Just a couple things to note. Our high school gymnastics team was the state champions. I do want to note that they also did a huge community project where they did Valentine's Day cards for seniors. Their coach spoke briefly at the last school committee meeting, and she emphasizes that she's looking for young men and women that want to be all Americans, basically on and off the field, both in the gym and in the classroom. And I love to hear that. D3, we are the wrestling champs. We have a co-op with Aquidneck Island. Apparently we didn't have enough to field an entire team, but there are 14 members from Portsmouth High School that are on the wrestling team, and they are the state champions for Division 3. Juniors have taken their SATs, freshmen and sophomores have taken the PSATs. Our Model UN participated at Dartmouth, at University of Dartmouth there, Massachusetts, and 6 of our delegates got honored, and 1 of our delegates received outstanding high honors. And in a small sample group, that is incredible. We had the National Honor Society induction. There was also the National Science and Language Award inductions. There was a test that students performed, and if they pass the test, it ultimately determines whether they're biliterate. And then a seal of approval will go on their diploma. I believe there were 20 students in Portsmouth's graduating class that can speak and read in at least one other language besides English, which I thought was impressive. Junior prom is the 17th, which I believe is next week. To Future Business Leaders of America, 10 of their, they went to a retreat, and 10 of their students placed in the top 10 across, they give them tests and basically some sort of rubric to measure them on. And 10 of our kids placed in the top 10 across all measurements. So unbelievable there. Our band recently went to New York City. I also want to say, we think of this week as the Teacher Appreciation Week. They did make a note to recognize a custodian that's going to be retiring from Portsmouth High School, Paul Fisher, and it goes with the teachers. I mean, the support staff, everybody that's in this building, making it go day in, day out. They're very important. So I like that they did that. Shout out to that gentleman. And then otherwise, that is all I have to report for Portsmouth High School. I know that the committee will be getting invitations to, I know there is a scholarship distribution and then also a graduation. If you have the availability, please attend it. They do a really nice job. I do want to note one other thing from Portsmouth. So they also are in budget season like we are. The Portsmouth Town Council provisionally approved the school department's budget request. The provisional approval will allow them to move forward with planning for the 24-25 school year with staffing and programming that are contained within their budget request. Next steps are the Town Council will continue to review departmental budget requests and take a provisional vote. This will continue in May, and in June, there will be one last public hearing on the full town budget at the Town Council will take a final vote. By this time, state aid and numbers should be finalized, which will be helpful for final decisions. I do want to know Portsmouth High School is rated the 4th best high school in the state of Rhode Island and a top 4% of all high schools nationally. It's incredibly prestigious. What else is there to note? And they're also a green ribbon school, which I kind of want to look at you. How do we become a green ribbon school? So a green ribbon school is based on safe energy reduction costs, future environmental sustainability, learning spaces, protect health, foster wellness, and offer environmental education to boost academic achievement and community engagement. I think we must be trending in that direction here at Wilbur McMahon School.
Definitely.
Okay. That's all I have for Portsmouth High School. Great work over there.
Can I just say something that the band, when they went to Portsmouth High School?
Yes.
They had a pretty stiff competition. They won this.
Oh, I didn't.
Competition and came in second in the jazz.
Well, thank you for sharing. She had just noted that they had gone. She didn't know how they turned out, but that's outstanding. She did note that the concert was outstanding and they did a great job. She just didn't have those stats. So thank you for sharing that, Sposhan. Excellent. Moving right along, item 7.3, the Wellness Committee Liaison Report, Ms. Sue Canane.
We don't have anything to report, but we will meet on the 16th of this month,
Do we have a time for that?
3:30.
Excellent. Thank you. Town Recreation Committee Liaison Report, Mr. Michael.
The rec meeting was basically revolved around the potential of the new tennis courts / pickleball courts that will be decided on funding at the upcoming financial town meeting and how that will be presented as far as the recommendation of the budget committee going forward. We'll be following up with another meeting after the financial town meeting to see what the next steps are based on the outcome of the financial town meeting and what the voters decide at that time. Besides that, July, they're gonna, last year they had basketball under the lights, which was done at the basketball courts up here on Thursday evenings, and that is gonna be starting again. There'll be a sign-up sheet through the recreation website, which is littlecomptonrecreation.com, and you'll be able to sign up through there. And Mark Gleischer, I spoke to him, and he's willing to run that again. So anybody that signs up, the information will go right to him, and he'll contact you to make those arrangements. So that is happening. But other than that, it's pretty status quo right now.
Thank you, Michael. Item 7.5, negotiation subcommittee report. Lori, would you like to comment, or Megan? I was not present at the last, I believe we exchanged proposals.
Yeah, sure, please forgive me. I did just hear from Tiverton, we'll discuss that later, but we will be meeting next week. We have a tentative date for the 15th. Attorney Clough has been away at a law clinic down in Savannah, Georgia, so he's been gone for a week, so, but things are going well, I believe, and it'll land the plane pretty soon.
Excellent. Item 7.6, scholarship subcommittee report. So that's myself and Sue. We will be meeting following the expiration of the scholarships being received. We extended it to May 31st. I can't emphasize enough. I know it was something Sue and I talked about last year when we met. We thought we did a good job of getting the word out. We certainly advertised it on social media. I know Portsmouth High School is putting it out there. We had trouble getting, we only had, I think, Jennifer, when we extended it, how many applicants did we have?
We had 5 at that time.
We had 5 at that time. So, we would like everybody that can tell somebody if they're out there. I mean, $500, $1,000 goes a long way. I mean, it'll cover a semester of books. So please, if you're a Little Compton student and or resident, don't hesitate to apply to this scholarship. There's a litany of them. The Vogel family does a beautiful job. The Simmons family contributes as well. So take a look. I'm sure something will line up for you, and we can go with getting you in there and evaluating. Perfect. That kind of leads us to our action items. 9.1, consider, discuss, and vote to match the 2024 Doris Simmons scholarship amount of $150 and bring the total award to $300. Is that accurate that the total award is $300? I thought it was $300. It is only $300.
Yeah.
My gosh, we have any discussion?
I do.
Go ahead.
So I know since I've been here, this comes up every year. So the question comes down to is there a certain amount of money that we're gonna run out into the scholarship, or how does that?
Yeah, no, isn't it the Doris Simmons it's in perpetuity. It's a trust, and they take a small draw from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a town account. So it's a restricted account. I don't know if it's just the income from it, or is it predominant?
Or the principal, yeah, or the interest. I don't know.
I think it's getting down to a pretty low number now.
So we don't know what that number is. So how long is this gonna last?
I don't think it's a big number.
We should look into that. That's a good question, though.
I can check with the town and see what.
Okay.
Because we only have that's the 4th scholarship, right? This is the 4th, because it's 3 from the Vogels, right? And then this one would be 4.
And I think there's one more.
One more proposal.
Yes.
So it'll be 5 that would be awarded altogether, 5 scholarships altogether.
Correct. Any other discussion? Do I have a motion to approve and bring the total award to $300?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Excellent. Jennifer, we will vote via roll call.
Travis Audi,
Aye.
Hannah Ayat. Aye. Megan Gonzalez. Aye. Susan Kinane.
Aye.
Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Excellent. Carries 5-0. Final item, or do any school committee members have requests for information from the administration or legal counsel? I believe, is Sean with us on Zoom?
No.
He's not with us at all. All right. Anyone? Okay. If there is no other business, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Meeting is adjourned.